Cuando lo subo volumen.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Thank you all so much for joining me tonight for this month's Q&A. Today is February 25th of 2026. So this will be our second Q&A of the 2026 year. And I'm so grateful to see you all on the call tonight. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Angela Harders. I used to be a public school teacher. I taught in the public school system for over a decade, and I left school in order to start unschooling my own kids 7 years ago, and now 7 years later, here we are. And I love to host these calls with you all every month because it gives me a chance to connect with you all and answer any questions that you might have about homeschooling or unschooling. This is the kind of opportunity that I wish that I would have had when I first started unschooling 7 years ago, just to be able to have someone to talk to who's kind of already walked this road before me and could answer some of the very many questions that I had when I first started. So this is like a very informal kind of time. I want you to feel more than comfortable to unmute yourselves and chat, and you could talk freely. Or if you prefer, you're more than welcome to ask your questions in the chat, and that way I can make sure I answer all of them as well. So however you feel more comfortable is totally fine with me. To kick us off, I don't know, we're kind of a smaller group tonight, which is great. If you can, is there anyone who'd like to introduce themselves and just share if you already started unschooling, a little bit about your family and where you live, and just kind of what question I guess you were hoping to address tonight. So I don't know if there's anyone who would like to go first and kind of introduce yourself.
My name is Mandy, and I am in Maryland. Um, I kind of messaged you the other day on the forum, I guess. I guess we've really been homeschooling, unschooling the whole time.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
my son is autistic, ADHD, several other things, but we learned early, very quickly, that the school system wasn't going to be beneficial to him. So
Mhm.
we have unschooled or homeschooled. And we learned that trying to follow a curriculum didn't work for him. We needed to, he had specific interests, and we kind of just fed on those and just worked it the best way we could. um, we have gone under an umbrella, getting out from under the county,
Mhm.
went with an umbrella, and then we came across, peaceful world schoolers. We went to a couple of the gatherings for them. And I guess one, I need reassurance because I'm getting a lot of questions and a lot of people throwing doubts my way that I'm doing
Mhm.
the right things. And two, I guess I just want a better understanding of peaceful world schoolers and I guess PAX as well.
Sure.
My son's 12, and he has some things that he's very advanced in
Mhm.
and some things he really struggles in. So
Okay. All right. Well, first of all, thank you, Mandy, for being here, and thank you for sharing a little bit of your story. You mentioned that your son is 12. What grade is he in now, then, technically?
that would be sixth grade, I think.
Okay. All right, cool. All right. My daughter's going to be 12 next month actually. So she's around that same age. Okay. I love how you kind of fell into unschooling. I think you fell into unschooling kind of the way that a lot of people do, where they kind of start out with a more school at home approach. And I think they realize very quickly that, okay, this is not going to work for my kid, that my kid really does not do well when I'm trying to force them to follow someone else's curriculum or agenda, especially if it's something that they don't find to be interesting or engaging. And yeah, so you had a question about the Peaceful World Schoolers umbrella. So with our umbrella, and you mentioned you're already with an umbrella, Mandy, is that correct?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
And we do peer reviews each year.
Okay.
So, and I know Peaceful World School, they don't really do a review, so I guess I'm curious as to how that works.
Yeah.
As
So
far as,
Maryland state law requires umbrellas to do what's called an annual review, but they do not specify in the law that it has to be a portfolio review. So different umbrellas do it in different ways, but kind of the wording that they use in Comar is that it's like a conference. And so that's kind of the approach that we take when it comes to our annual review. We treat it more like parent-teacher conference kind of a thing. And so we actually give our families three different options to be able to do the annual review with us. The first way, which is our most popular way, is by doing the group Zoom. So during our group Zoom, we're going to meet on Zoom just like this, and we actually do this during the first week of April, and we meet via Zoom, and then we actually break out into small breakout rooms of like 3 or 4 other homeschooling families, and we do what's called a 3-2-1 share. So each person will share 3 celebrations. This could be any 3 things that you want to celebrate about your homeschool year. Maybe it's something really cool that your child has learned, or even something that you've learned. And then 2 would be 2 challenges. So any 2 challenges that you guys have encountered, maybe you're in the midst of those challenges, and maybe the other members of your group can help share tips or advice if they've kind of been through the similar challenge. Or it might be a challenge that you've actually been able to overcome, and then you can share that as well. So that way, hopefully, you can be a blessing to the other people that are in your group and share with them about how you overcome whatever challenge it was that you've dealt with over the course of this last year. So we do 3 celebrations, 2 challenges, and then 1 change. So what is one thing that we want to change going forward in the future? And that's our annual review. This is meant to be something that is zero stress for you. We want this to be an opportunity for you to, number one, connect with other homeschoolers that are in your area. And number two, we want you to reflect on your process, reflect on your year, really think intentionally about what has worked, what hasn't worked, what are areas that you want to improve in going forward, and things like that. So the group Zoom is, like I said, the easiest and the most popular option. The second option, we also do a peer review. So if you have other friends that are in our umbrella, then you could do a peer review with them. If you do the peer review, then you do have to fill out a form where you kind of write like a brief summary of the different subject areas about what you did with your children in each of the different subject areas. If you choose the peer review option. And then the third option, if you can't join one of our group Zooms and you don't have a friend in the umbrella yet, then you could do what's called an individual review. And that would be where you would book a one-on-one call with me or someone else from our leadership team. And then we will get to do your review one-on-one over the phone. And it's the same kind of thing. We talk about your homeschool year and just kind of go through how things have been. I do ask that people try to save that as a very, very last resort, because if I'm doing one-on-one phone calls with everyone, I will never see my own kids and they will not be happy with me. So we do try to have people do one of the first 2 options as like the first option. But of course, if you have, some really serious concern that you would like to discuss with me privately, you are more than welcome to book a one-on-one call with me. So that's kind of how we handle the annual review piece of it for Peaceful Worldschoolers umbrella. The other aspect of what we do is PAX Academy. So Peaceful Worldschoolers is registered in the state of Maryland as a homeschool umbrella, which means that we can provide oversight for homeschooling families that live in Maryland. However, it has always been my heart to not just help homeschooling families in Maryland, but to help homeschooling families anywhere in the world. And one of the ways that we can do that is through PAX Academy. So PAX Academy is registered in the state of Maryland as what's called a church exempt school. And that means that we are exempt from the state's requirements to use particular curriculums and things like that. And so as a result, we're able to be we're a private school for unschoolers. And so because PAX Academy is a private school, then we're able to issue transcripts and diplomas and things like that. And but we still give you the same freedom and flexibility to educate your child in whatever way that you believe is best. So I think what most families do, if you're living in Maryland, a lot of families, they stay with Peaceful Worldschoolers until they get to be about middle school or high school, and then they'll transfer over into PAX Academy for middle school and high school. So that way they're able to take advantage of getting an accredited diploma and accredited transcripts and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah. But you can also stay with Peaceful Worldschoolers the whole way through if you prefer.
All right.
Any other questions?
Um, One thing, is there a way for me to be able to, um, uh, part of me doesn't want to test him, but at the same time, I do want to test and see
Yeah.
where he falls, where he's at.
Yeah.
What's the best way to go about doing that?
So, when it comes to testing, I recommend that you have a conversation with your child prior to doing that. And I would ask, if it were me, I would ask my child if they would want to be tested, and have themselves evaluated in that way. And actually, I did do that. I asked my daughter, she was an unschooler, and I asked her, hey, I did it because there are other states that actually required standardized testing. And I
Mhm.
wanted to know what that process would be like to be able to help the families in the other states. And so I asked my daughter, hey, would you be willing to try this standardized test for me because I want to see what it's like. I want to see what are the kinds of questions that they're asking on the test, what the process is like so that I can help other families. And my daughter was like, sure, I'll take the test. I think the most common standardized test that people do in the homeschooling world is the California Achievement Test. And actually, let me show you that. Give me one second. So California Achievement Test is one of the most popular, and you can just go to Google and search California Ah, Achievement Test. It's also known as the CAT. And this first website here, Academic Excellence, this is kind of the main provider, I think, for this test. And you can click on it. And as you can see, it's a test that's not timed. So that means that your child can do this in like multiple sittings if they want to. My daughter would do like a little bit, and then she would be like, okay, I want to go play outside. I was like, okay, fine. So she would go outside and play. And then she'd come back later and do it again, do a little bit more, and then do another section. So she kind of did it over the span of like maybe a couple days that she just kind of worked at it on her own pace. Ironically enough, so my daughter who's been, fully unschooled since pre-K, she scored really, really well. She scored at the time she did it when she took the test when she was in would have been fourth grade. And she had scored in middle school level for reading, but the math section was really interesting because the entire math section was about like multiplying and dividing fractions. And as an unschooler, like that isn't something that most people like do in their day-to-day life. So she like didn't know how to do that. And she was like, okay, they're asking me how to multiply fractions. How do I do this? And I literally took like a couple minutes to teach her how to do it. And then she was able to do the whole thing. And she passed everything, which was great. After just teaching her and explaining her how to do it for like a couple minutes. But I thought it was interesting that like the entire math section for fourth grade was basically about fractions for that one part. The arithmetic part of it, she did really great on, didn't need any like help or support with that, but the fractions part she did. Um, and so you basically come here, you can choose any grade level. They begin doing this test in second grade and then they go through 12th grade. So if you do have a desire to test your child, I think this is a great resource. Another really popular one are the Iowa tests. And then, yeah, there's some other ones you can like research and see, but this is the one that I recommend. I think this is the most common. It tends to be like the most traditional, I guess. It's just one that's been around for a long time, and this is what we recommend. So I'll go ahead and share this in the chat with you. And then they'll send you the scores later and let you know, give you kind of like a breakdown of where your child is at. Another really great, like kind of diagnostic test is within PAX Academy, we actually work with IXL. And so IXL has diagnostic tests that they offer to their students. And so if you want to get IXL through us, IXL is one of the most popular curriculum in the United States. And their diagnostic test is really great because it gives you a breakdown of kind of like where your child is at in all the different levels. And we give our families a 60% discount on the IXL curriculum. If you'd like to purchase that through us, you can. And that diagnostic is really, really helpful as well.
Okay, that might be would that be for someone like um our son who is higher in some things, like for example, he has no interest in algebra, but he loves chemistry and physics.
Yeah,
That's, you
which
know,
is interesting because there's a lot of algebra, I feel like, in chemistry and physics.
yeah, no, I cannot get him to sit and do algebra at all. He was not interested, you know.
Uh-huh.
But since he has higher levels and lower levels, would the Iowa, or I mean the IXL be possibly a better fit, do you think?
Most of these standardized tests, they're really only testing two subject areas. They're really only testing like reading and math is kind of like the two big things that they test for.
Gotcha.
Ironically enough, yeah, most people don't like it sounds bad to say they don't really care about the other subject areas, but they kind of don't. Like there isn't an art test. Really, there's no like standardized testing for like social studies or any of the other subject areas. It really is just reading and math. So that's kind of the two subject areas that most of these standardized tests are evaluating.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Um, I don't think so.
Okay. Speaking to testing as an unschooler, I think a lot of times it can be tempting for us to want to test our children to kind of see how they compare in the public school world. And I think a really core principle, like a lot of unschoolers would be very resistant to doing testing as an unschooler, simply for that fact that a core part of the philosophy is that we're not measuring or comparing our children to that system. I think it's just something to consider as an unschooler, if you are wanting to really like live out the unschooling philosophy. I know most unschoolers would say to not worry about testing at all. But I think if it's something that your child is interested in and they're open to, and it's something, you guys want to have a conversation about, like you can, go for it.
Yeah, it's a tough balance. Like I said, we've been getting some pushback, and even like with his situation, he's in therapies, and
Hmm.
his therapy people who he thinks a lot of have really been kind of digging into things and questioning him about what he's learning in school. And of course, he's like, "Well, I homeschool," and they're like, "Okay, well, what are you learning?"
Hmm.
And his thing is, well, chemistry. Everything is chemistry. He just loves chemistry. That's all there is, you
Uh-huh.
know.
Yeah.
And so
So are you wanting to do the testing more to prove to them that he's okay? Or I guess what is your
well,
thought process when you
I
think
guess
about
my
that?
husband and I have both discussed it to see. I guess I guess we worry that maybe there are some things that we should try to incorporate more. I don't know. It's just, I guess, just being insecure about our approach, I guess, what we're doing.
Hmm. So I guess your primary goal for the testing then would be to see if there's like gaps in his learning. Am I understanding you correctly?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So if that's the primary goal, again, thinking as an unschooler, right? Like these tests only measure a very, very small subset of all of the knowledge that there is to know in the world, right? Like
Yes.
you could give your son this test and it's not going to tell us that he loves chemistry because this test isn't testing for chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
And I had this conversation with someone actually when I had first started unschooling about this whole idea of testing and like should we test our kids as unschoolers? And the idea of testing as unschoolers, it goes back to that idea of like this test is only measuring specific things that really are only targeted within the school system, right? Like this test is never going to show the completeness of what my child knows, what they can do, of their potential, of who they are as a human being or as a learner. And at the same time, these tests can also be used for that negative aspect of saying like, okay, well, they're, low in this. But again, it's goes back to that question, like, well, low compared to what? Low compared to
Yeah.
who? Behind
But
compared to
yeah,
what?
my
Behind
table, my
compared to who?
plate.
And so when we're living as unschoolers, we're getting out of that whole system of comparison where, like for me, I gave the example that my daughter was taking this test and she didn't know how to multiply and divide a fraction. It was
Mm-hmm.
like there was this moment that I was like, oh my gosh, am I failing her? Right? Like I started to kind of doubt myself, like, oh my gosh, if she was in school, she would know how to divide a fraction. But then I had to really sit back and think about it. And I was like, okay, wait a second. My daughter did this fourth grade test. She didn't know how to do this one thing. What does that mean? Like, does it mean that my daughter's behind? No. Does it mean that I'm failing her? No. The only thing that that means is that that skill that they were testing for on that test has not shown up in her actual life yet.
Yes.
That,
Yeah.
that's all that it means, right? Like this random skill that they decided was necessary to teach an 8-year-old, a 9-year-old. This skill has not shown up for her yet. She has never had to divide a fraction in her 9 years of life on this planet. And that's okay, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's
Right.
okay. And I just saw Lauren just commented in the chat. She said, when they need the skill, they will learn it. And it's so true. It's so true. And that's that unschooling mentality. And it was like I kind of had to bring myself down from a ledge because by doing that test, it did kind of open up my own doubts, my own fears, my own concerns of like, oh my gosh, if she was in school, she would know this kind of a thing. But
Yes,
then I had to
yes.
go back and remind myself, like, no, this test is testing this one little area, of knowledge of all the millions of things that a human being could know. Because some random human out there decided that when you're 9, you have to know dividing fractions, and that was literally like the entire section.
And you're right. And I think about too, like when I was in school, I went through the system, and I'll be honest with you, I hated fractions. And I don't think I've ever divided fractions since I've been out of school.
I know. And I was thinking about it, and it was so funny because when my daughter asked me how to do it, even though I taught algebra 2, okay, I taught algebra 2 against my will for a year when I was a public school teacher. Um, and I was like, you know what? I don't remember. I don't remember how to do this. I was like, let me go Google it real quick. And I Googled it and I was like, oh yeah, we have to flip the fraction and do the thing, whatever. And so I was, I had to like refresh my own brain as an adult to be like, okay, how do you do this? Because dividing fractions is not a skill that I would typically need in my real life, right? And I consider myself a relatively successful adult human being. And so, taking kind of pulling myself down from the ledge a little bit, it was like, okay, you know, my daughter doesn't know how to divide a fraction, but at the end of the day, it doesn't mean anything bad about her. It doesn't mean that I'm failing her. It doesn't mean that she's behind. Is there a gap in her learning? Sure. But every human being has gaps in their learning because nobody knows everything. Nobody can know everything. So she knows what she needs to know to be successful in her life right now, and that's okay.
Well,
So I
I
don't know.
want to thank you for being so honest
Yeah, go for it.
because this is what I'm trying not to get emotional here. This is where I've battled because if I really think about it, I know that he's done well. I mean, by the time he was almost 4 years old, he was reading. He was advanced in those things.
Hmm.
And I tend to worry about what everybody else is thinking or saying. It's like when these
Yeah,
counselors were questioning him, I found that they questioned me about his socializing, and then they questioned him during his therapy. And I found that
yeah,
out later. And I'm like, okay, what are they getting at? Are they going to report me because thinking I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing? And all these thoughts are running through my mind,
yeah.
and he's done well. Does he lack
Mhm.
in some things? Yes, but overall, he's done good. And developmentally, he is younger than 12, so he is, like I said, behind some things. But I mean, the things he tells me about astronomy and chemistry and physics, I'm lost. And he's learned that on his own.
Yeah.
So that's his interest, that's his passion, that's what he's been given. And every time we feed those things, he learns what he needs to learn to advance further in those things.
Right. Yeah.
So you're
And
right.
I hear you, right? Like, and that's a big concern, I think, of anyone who homeschools, not just like but I think especially for those of us who are unschoolers, that fear of like, okay, people outside in the world are not going to understand what we're doing. They're not going to understand why I'm not worried that my 9-year-old doesn't know how to divide a fraction. They'll be like, you should be worried about that. I'm like, I'm not worried. It's okay. You know, um, when she needs to know how to divide a fraction, she did. I taught it to her in like 10 minutes and then she was able to do the whole section without any problems. But prior to that moment of like dividing fractions just never showed up and it was okay. But I understand that tension, especially when there's that risk of like, when they're in therapy, doctors and other people in society, they're mandated reporters, right? So if they have suspicions of abuse or neglect or things like that, that is a very, very real thing. And thank God that hasn't been something that I have encountered or that any of the families in our umbrella have yet encountered. I hope we never have to deal with that. But it is the reality of the world that we're actually, you know what? Today, I had a phone call today from a grandmother who called me and said that her She was very concerned that her grandkids were enrolled in our umbrella and was very worried that her grandchildren were not being educated. And so I, got to give the grandma a crash course in unschooling. Um, but we had to have that conversation about, okay, what is the difference between unschooling and educational neglect? Because this grandmother was rightfully concerned about her grandchildren, and it's great. And I tried to acknowledge her. Thank you so much for caring about your granddaughter. If you are concerned about genuine neglect, then yes, this is something that if you're seeing something, obviously I'm not with your grandkids, I don't know what their home life is like, but if you're seeing something that is like a concern about neglect, then there's channels to report neglect. But unschooling is not neglect. Like homeschooling doesn't look like school at home. And so being able to communicate that to people, especially people that are so ingrained in the system, it can be really hard for them to understand, and so I think some things you can do just practically for yourself. Well, number one, I try to make sure that I surround myself with people who either understand our philosophy or are at the very least not gonna like interrogate me or make me feel bad about what we're doing, right?
Mhm.
Like we've had to change our doctor for that reason. Like we found a doctor that when we go there, like they don't bug us about certain things. Same with our dentist. Like we have a dentist that we go to now, and when my kids go in there, she doesn't ask, like she doesn't quiz them of like, what are you learning in your homeschool? No, she asks them like, how's your business doing? Where have you guys been traveling in the world? What field trip have you been to lately? Like she understands what we do as unschoolers, and she's like excited and intrigued about what we're doing rather than critical of it. And so I
Yes.
think that's part of our wisdom as parents is being able to understand like, okay, who's in our sphere, especially when it comes to like medical providers and stuff like that. Who is going to be someone that could be like a potential danger or a risk for my family and my kids? Of someone who doesn't understand what we're doing, they're not open to understanding what we're doing, they're judging what we're doing, they're critical of what we're doing, versus, how can I surround myself with professionals that maybe they don't understand, but at least they will be respectful and understand that like I'm complying with state laws. If they have questions, like you can just tell. You can tell the difference between someone who doesn't understand and is curious, like genuinely curious,
Hmm.
and someone who doesn't understand and is critical and is like digging for information because they're like, okay, something bad's happening here with your kid, and we're going to report you for not homeschooling the way we think you should homeschool, kind of a thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes, I do. I do. And we
Uh,
we've made some of those changes with physicians. So, and I think too, maybe I need to find a way also to help Isaac be able to answer the questions.
yes. And that was going to be the
I
second
don't
thing
know
I
how to
was
do
going to
that
say.
necessarily, but maybe
Yeah,
that's,
yeah. I made a video, our like one of our Q&As that we did right before the holidays was about that. We talked about how can you help prepare your children for the holidays, because I know a lot of times, when people are around extended family members, a lot of times we have like aunts and uncles and cousins and mothers-in-law that maybe don't understand what we're doing as homeschoolers. They don't agree with what we're doing, and they can kind of start to ask questions again from a critical spirit rather than like a genuinely curious spirit. And
Yes.
so a big part of that is that of like, okay, how can I prepare my child to have these conversations with people who are not familiar with homeschooling, much less unschooling, right? So how can we have those conversations? A great way to do that is to just practice. I try to help my kids. Like we kind of do a lot of role play when it comes to having conversations like that. So I'll say like, if someone comes up and asks you like, what are you learning in school? What are some things you could say? And that usually my kids will respond by saying like, oh, we homeschool, or rather than, if they're asking like, oh, what subject is your favorite or whatever, like they talk about their interests, and I try to help them like prepare for that moment. And it's okay, what are some interests that you have, and so that way they kind of already have a mental idea in their mind of like, okay, if someone were to ask me this question, I already have an idea of what I could say. I don't have to feel caught off guard. I don't have to feel like they're giving me the third degree. I can just be in the conversation with them, and I have some kind of like pre-programmed answers that I can give to them. And in fact, I even do that for myself. Like when people ask me questions about stuff, like I have like my elevator pitch for unschooling in my head of like, this is what I say when someone asks me about unschooling. I'm like, okay, what do you do? Oh, my kids live and learn without school. We learn through our passions and interests. We don't follow a curriculum or whatever. We do something totally different, right? Like, so I've kind
Mhm.
of rehearsed these things that I already say where they're, well, how do they socialize? Okay, my response to that is when they ask me how do they socialize, I ask them that same question. How do you socialize? Right? It's
Yeah.
just like I've talked about unschooling with thousands of people that it's like you kind of have things to say. So the more you can kind of practice for yourself as a parent, um, you can also help practice have help your kids practice having conversations with people, and then of course knowing
Yes.
that if you feel like they're getting to that point where they're like your child feels uncomfortable, like I mean, you're a mom, like if someone's asking questions in a way that is making you or your child feel uncomfortable, then just stop, like shut it down. We don't owe anybody any explanations of what we're doing. I'm accountable to my child and to the Lord, and that is it. So I don't have to
Yes.
tell you all the details of what our homeschooling life looks like. I don't have to defend what we're doing to you. But I do understand that with, medical professionals and things like that, we do want to be prepared to give an answer, um, that they can hopefully understand.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much for everything.
Yeah, yeah, my pleasure. I
This
saw
this has
Erica
been
had her hand raised. I wanted to add in a comment, Erica.
Yes, hi. I have a question where you guys were talking about well, my daughter, I have three kids, a 17-year-old, a 15-year-old, and a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
And I was listening to your podcast the other day, and my daughter was listening as well, and she said, "Oh, I want to be on school." But I was actually listening for my youngest, who's 6 years old. Um,
Uh-huh.
how would you unschool a 15-year-old? Because I know she wants to be like she's thinking about being a wildlife rehabilitator. So she knows
Yeah.
what she wants to be, but I know they require certain credits or certain, math levels and things like that. How do you handle that in if she wants to be unschooled?
Yeah. So I think when people hear the term unschooling, I had this idea in my mind when I heard the word unschooling. I thought that that meant not learning. That was like my unschooling in my head meant not learning, right? Or that there was unstructured or unparenting. That was kind of the image that I had when I first heard the word unschooling. And unschooling is not that. I'm I'm going to be making a video that explains more in detail about like what unschooling is. But I define unschooling now as self-directed education. So basically, it's where the child is the one who's choosing what they learn, when they learn, where they learn, how they learn, and why they learn. That's how I would define unschooling. So unschooling for a 15-year-old is going to look very different, right? You're going to be having conversations with her about, okay, as a teenager, like she's already thinking, you mentioned she has an idea of what she wants to do when she graduates, right? Will that career require her to go to college?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So, once they get to the teen years, unschooling is going to look very different because they're starting to think about, okay, after I graduate from high school, I want to go to college. And if college is something that's next on her career path, then we kind of work backwards, right? We're like, okay, if you want to get into college, then that means that you've got to study some algebra, right? So maybe algebra wasn't, maybe you didn't care about math before. And for a lot of unschoolers, that is the case. Most of them don't do formal math until they get to high school, where they're like, okay, I want to go to college. I've got to learn some algebra. And then they go through and do that kind of that backwards thinking process of like, okay, well, now how do I want to learn algebra? Right. So now that they have the why, then they figure out the how. And that's the same thing that you're going to do with your daughter. You're going to help her. She's discovering her why. And once she does, then you help her figure out the how. And so that's one of the things that we actually do through PAX Academy. We have guidance counselors that will help kind of coach your daughter as far as like, okay, if you want to do this after you graduate, these are some resources and tools that are going to help you get there. If your daughter is planning to go to college after she graduates, I will 1000% recommend that she start doing dual enrollment classes right now. Because, yeah, she can save so much time and money by doing dual enrollment classes when she's in high school. And in fact, we have several students that are in PAX Academy that are going to be getting their associate's degree before they get their high school diploma, which is so crazy. But she can do that, and that's the beauty of being an unschooler when you're in high school. We literally walk you through every single subject and we say, okay, you have to earn an English credit this year. How do you want to earn your English credit? And then we ask them, like, how do you want to do it? There's a million ways that you can earn an English credit. Do you want to take a dual enrollment class with this university partner so you get college credit and high school credit for that English class? Do you want to do a free online class? Do you want to do this curriculum? Do you want to take an English class with your local co-op? There's tons of ways that you could take a class, right? Maybe she doesn't want to take a class. Instead, she wants to take a test. That's the second way they can earn credits in high school. So besides taking a class, she could take a test. There's two tests that are the main ones. There's AP exams and CLEP exams. I like the CLEP exam because you can do it from home, which is really nice. You could take it from the comfort of your own home. But she might say, you know what? I don't want to do a whole class, an entire, class of homework and tests and projects and quizzes and all that. I'm really good at reading and writing. I'm just going to take the CLEP exam and test out of this. In one 90-minute test, she can get college credit and high school credit at the same time in one 90-minute test, right? Or the third way that she could get credits, instead of taking a class, instead of taking a test, she could do what we call taking her time. And that's kind of our specialty at PAX Academy. That's like the true unschooling, I feel like, where you're learning through your real life, real world experience. So what that could look like for your daughter is, if she takes a class, she's got to read whatever books are required for that class. But maybe what was it that you said she was passionate about?
Well, she wants a lot of things, but she loves animals, and she was thinking wildlife rehabilitator.
Okay, a wildlife rehabilitator. Okay, great. So maybe for her, instead of reading Shakespeare, it might be more valuable for her to start reading books about wildlife and about wildlife rehabilitation. Maybe there's someone who's like already an expert in that field and she wants to read their biography, or she wants to just read more about animals and gain knowledge and experience about animals through reading. So she can customize her own English language arts credit based on the kinds of books that she loves to read, the kinds of things that are going to be valuable for her to read about. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And so we do that through all the other subject areas. We're like, okay, that was for English, I'm gonna read these books, or I'm gonna take this class, or I'm gonna do this test. And then we just do that for everything else. All right, what about math? How do you want to earn your math credit? Science is going to be real easy for her, right? She loves wildlife. Great. How do you want to earn your science credit this year? Do you want to go volunteer at a wildlife rehabilitation center? That would be amazing. I would much rather her do that than like just take a random online class.
Yeah, that makes more sense. And if I sign up with PAX Academy, will you guys be able to guide me? Because English is my second language, and I'm learning as.
You speak wonderful, better than my Spanish.
Oh, you do great too. You do great with your Spanish. And I'm still learning. I'm learning, to teach my son, which is, I started teaching him in kindergarten. He's now in first grade, and I've been teaching curriculums like so many times because I thought it was the curriculum, and I was like, okay, it's the curriculum or it's me, or what am I doing wrong? And it's just he doesn't want the pressure, because I'm basically what you did, I'm bringing school at home, and he doesn't like that. And I'm like, and I don't want to push him too much, because I've been learning a little bit of what's it called, different philosophies of learning, and I don't want to take that passion of learning out of him,
Yeah.
So
Right.
That's why I've been listening. Okay, I'm gonna give this a try, but I'm kind of nervous, to be honest, because I'm like, how do I do this? And I would like to learn more about it. And it sounds like it's gonna fit for all of my kids, not just my little one.
Yeah, yeah. And what I tell people all the time, when I first started unschooling, I was terrified. Like I was legitimately terrified. And I had this thought. I was like, oh my gosh, what if I am the only teacher, the only reading teacher in the world with a kid who doesn't know how to read? That's going to be so embarrassing for me. And so I get it. Like, I understand the fear. I understand the anxiety. If you're kind of stepping into it with fear and anxiety, know that that is okay. That is normal. I would be worried if you were not worried. If you were like, oh, we're just going to like do this thing that's totally new that we've never done before. And like, yeah, it'll be great. Like, no, like there is going to be some sense of like nervousness about trying something new, but I encourage you to give it a try for 1 year. And that was so helpful for me when I first started. I couldn't like my brain couldn't wrap my mind around like doing this forever. That was too scary for me. That was too big for me. That was too like, oh my gosh, like major life change for the rest of our life, you know? But I could do a year. I could do a year. I was like, okay, I can commit to really going full in with this unschooling philosophy for 1 year. And if at the end of this year it's terrible, like let's say that I spend this entire year helping my child pursue their passions, discovering what brings them joy, falling in love with the books that they love, having fun with them, being connected to them, taking them on awesome field trips, just enjoying life with them, real life, real world experiences with my kids. If at the end of this year they hate it and I hate it, we can always make a change.
Mhm.
You know,
And
same same for
is
you.
there like a guide for the parents, on how to do this? Because how do I get all of these ideas? I know he has certain interests which I'm gonna focus on, and I'm gonna try
Yep.
to explore more. But what happens if how can I explode that? I don't know how. Let's say I don't know how, and how do I get those ideas, or how I can. I don't know.
Mhm. So within the PAX Academy portal, we actually have a course that's called Welcome to PAX Academy, and I actually break down the 10 different subject areas. So I have English language arts, and I have tons of resources in there that you can use for English language arts. I have science, social studies, music, physical education. There's literally tons, I mean, there's hundreds of resources in there that you could explore, look at, you know, experiment with, try it out, see what your kids like. Some of them are free, some of them are paid, some of them are discounted. Like there's thousands of resources available in the world, right? Of course, we don't even have the entire full list that's out there, right? I just have, as I find stuff, I add stuff to it all the time to our list in the different subject areas and things like that. But I had a conversation with a mom this morning and I said, we cannot empower our children to be self-directed learners if we as parents are not ready to learn how to be self-directed learners ourselves. So you're like, okay, how am I going to find the resources? Well, that's the unschooling question for you, as in like you are an unschooler. That's what unschoolers do. This is something I need to learn. I don't know how to do this. How can I figure it out?
Mhm.
That's the heart of unschooling. I have this thing that I want to learn. In your case, it's I want to learn how I can find resources to help support my child in their learning. And then now you get to ask yourself, okay, what resources do I have? How can I figure this out? I highly recommend using resources like ChatGPT or other AI things. AI has given me so many great ideas where I'm like, hey, my kid's really interested in this. Help me find like what are ways that I could help him expand on this interest. Give me tools, give me resources, give me field trip ideas, give me, whatever, like give me all the things. And they
Mhm.
do, like ChatGPT just gives me this massive list of like really awesome resources that we can explore and field trip ideas that I never thought about and volunteer opportunities that they can do. But at the end of the day, like, I'm looking for that, but I also want to help my kids discover that too. So when
Mhm.
my kids start expressing an interest in something, I ask them too. I'm like, hey, my daughter was like, Mom, I'm really interested in art. I'm like, awesome. How do you want to learn more about art? Do you want to look into taking an online class? Do you want to just do it for fun? Do you want to check out some YouTube videos? Do you want to, do this with a co-op with your friends? Like, how do you want to learn about this thing that you really like?
Mhm.
And then helping them kind of cultivate that skill of like, okay, what are the tools and the resources that I have to figure out how can I learn what I want and need in my
Mhm.
life?
Okay.
You can do it. You
Thank
could
you.
do it. And you don't have to have all the answers. It's okay. This is the beauty of what we're doing. We are unschooling ourselves right alongside of our kids. We are learning without school right alongside of our kids.
And for my 17-year-old, he will be 18 this year.
Hmm.
He will be going to 12th grade. But
Yeah.
it's been a struggle with him. Gaps in his education and not really interested in learning. And he's almost about to graduate. But I feel like he's just doing the work because he has to do the work and not because he really wants to learn it. And
Yeah.
I don't want that for them, I don't want that for my daughter or for him. So I want to help them as well. You also.
Give them permission to stop. I'm really serious. Give them permission to stop. You know, the it I think this is something that's very challenging for me in my own like deschooling process of my brain
Mhm.
is understanding that both things are valuable, right? Like when we're encountering a moment of our life where we're like, okay, there's this thing that I don't want to do. um, there's value in both. Like there's value in saying, okay, there's this thing that I don't want to do, and then still choosing to do it anyway, right? Like I really don't want to learn algebra 2, but I understand that in order for me to go to college, I've got to pass the SAT and I have to learn algebra 2. Even though this isn't my favorite thing in the world, I'm going to choose to persevere in this thing, right? But there's also the other option is that I could say, you know what? I really don't want to learn algebra 2. It's also okay for me to say, you know what? I'm not going to use algebra 2 right now, or I don't want to learn algebra 2 right now. It's okay for me to stop doing this right now. If I need to learn algebra 2 next year, I can still learn it next year. I'm not like limited to I have to learn algebra 2 right now. It is okay. And understanding the value of both, of like choosing to persevere through something that we don't necessarily want to do, and then also understanding that there are also things that we don't want to do, that it's okay to say, I don't want to do this, and I'm not going to continue doing this. And for me, that was really difficult. I'll tell you a story. My daughter wanted to do a martial arts class, and so I found a free so this is so funny. I found a free jujitsu class at this gym that's across the street from our house. And so I signed her up for the free trial, and we went to the free trial. And in the middle of this free trial jujitsu class, my daughter came over to me with tears in her eyes, and she was like, Mom, I don't want to finish this class. I do not want to finish this class. I immediately was triggered. I was like, what do you like? No, you have to finish this class. Like, I am not raising a quitter, like you've got to finish this thing. Like, I mean, all of my internal struggle was like, what do you mean you just want to stop in the middle of the class? And she was crying and she said, I think some of the other kids are making fun of me. And I don't know what I'm doing. Everyone else knows what they're doing. And I'm clueless and like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm done. Like, I'm done. And I started getting into this battle of the wills with her. I was like, no, like you are going to finish this jujitsu class. Like this is not a choice. Like you got to finish, But again, it was all of my own stuff, my own insecurities of like that fear that I had that if I let my daughter quit midway through this course, then she's going to be a quitter and she's going to just give up when things get hard and like all those fears that I had, right? And so as we were driving home, I was like so angry. That I couldn't even speak. And so I was just kind of thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, what is my deal here? Like, why am I so angry that she doesn't like she doesn't feel like safe or happy in this place? This is not a positive experience for her. She wants to leave. Why am I so angry at her? It didn't cost me anything. Like it was free. She tried it. She didn't like it. Like she wanted to be done. Um, and it was that was like my underlying like upset with her. It really wasn't about the class, but it was about my fear that if I let her stop this class midway, that she was going to be a quitter and she was just going to be a failure, because in my mind, quitting meant failing. That was my schoolish mentality. My schoolish mentality said that if you give up, you're a failure. And then when we got home, I went in to go talk to her because she was really like she was just really upset. And I went in and I told her and I shared with her about how I felt. I said, you know what? I want to apologize for trying to force you to finish the class and for getting angry at you in front of everyone. Um, and I want you to know, like, I've been thinking about the fact that like what was really making me upset was not that you didn't want to finish it, but I was afraid that if I didn't let you finish like if I didn't make you finish this class, I was worried that you were going to be a quitter. And I forgot that learning how to quit well is a really important and valuable skill, because I know a lot of adults that stay in, like my daughter was saying she wanted to stop because she felt like these kids were making fun of her and she didn't feel safe, like for those kinds of reasons. And I'm like, I know a lot of adults who stay in like toxic and abusive work environments, that stay in toxic and abusive relationships with that same mentality that if I give up, I'm a quitter, I'm a failure, it's something negative about me. And So I'm like, if ever you're in a situation where you feel like people are making fun of you or you don't feel safe or whatever, I want you to know that it is okay to leave. And I'm sorry for trying to force you to stay. And and so that idea of like learning how to quit well, learning when to say like I don't want to continue with this and that's okay, and really being okay with that choice, that was really, really, really hard for me. Um, and so anyways, my son wanted to continue doing jujitsu. And so we came back, and I knew that my daughter felt really embarrassed because the last time that we were there, we left and it was like this big, thing where she was crying and I was like, no, you're gonna stay, like it was just not a good moment for either of us. And so, I just told her, I was like, you don't have to come in if you don't feel comfortable. Like I can sit out in the car with you. It's okay. And she was like, no, I'll go in. And so she went in and she started like doing the class again. Or no, she was just sitting and kind of like watching my son do the class. And she came and just kind of sat and watched for like maybe 2 or 3 times. And then, one day she just was like, hey, mom, I think I want to try again. And I was like, okay, and she did. And not only did she try again, but she was like, wow, I really liked it. I think it was like, I don't know what it was, but you know, she started again. And then now, she's 11 years old. She's been doing jujitsu for years now. And she literally trains like 5 or 6 days a week. Sometimes she even goes twice a day to train. Like she loves jujitsu. And and it was like she giving her the freedom to choose to either continue and persevere when it was hard, but also at the same time letting her know that like if you choose that you don't want to continue and persevere in this, I am also okay with that. Like it doesn't mean that you're a failure. It doesn't mean that you're not going to be anything great in the world. It doesn't mean that you're a loser or whatever. Like it is okay for you to say like I don't want to continue doing this and be satisfied with your choice. Um, so yeah, so if there's something that your son is like resisting that he just doesn't want to do, know that it's okay to give him the space to say no, like to stop. And that if he ever wants to resume it in the future, that it's okay. Um, but that's a really yeah, so now whenever we have these situations where they're like we encounter hard things that we have to do in life, we have that conversation. We're like, okay, you've got two really great choices here. There's this thing that you don't want to do. What do you want to choose? Do you want to choose to persevere or do you want to choose to stop? We don't say quit because quit feels bad. So do you want to stop? Do you want to choose to persevere or do you want to stop and do something else? And we treat both equally. Yeah, that's been hard for me. But I don't know if that makes sense to you, but or if that story is helpful in any way. I hope it is.
Thank you.
But yeah, thank you for sharing. I see Crystal has her hand raised. Hey, Crystal. Oh, are you there? Did Crystal leave?
Hello. Sorry. Are you there?
Hey,
Can you hear me?
Crystal. Yes. Yep, we can hear you.
Oh, so I was just gonna say, like for my daughter, she's 14, and our biggest struggle right now because we're new to like the unschooling thing and the PAX Academy, but right now I guess our focus is to for her to find what she wants to learn about, what she likes. Because for all these years, she's been told what to learn about, and
Yes.
she's finding herself, in her
Yes.
adolescent years. It's hard for them,
Yes.
you know. So,
It's hard, but so beautiful. Thank you for holding space for her to do that.
yeah, so but I do have a question. We're here in Maryland.
Yeah.
Like, so if she wanted to get a job, does she still need like like they have to have those work permits for school?
Yeah.
So how do they go about getting those? Does it through the academy or?
Yeah, so the process for getting a work permit is going to vary state by state. But if she's a minor and she wants to get a work permit, then you could just go on and Google like work permit for minors in Maryland, and there's a form that they actually let me see, I could show you. Um, all right, so we're going to take a look here. And again, you can do this in any state. So work permit minors in Maryland form. All right, so here they have employment for minors. And you can see here it says apply for a work permit online. So here they have an online form that you fill out, and you can go here. And then you just click the apply button and you fill it out. So typically what happens is, so here it says work permits are not valid unless they're signed by the minor, by the minor's parents, or the legal guardian and the minor's employer. So it's the employer's job to kind of finish this piece of it, but this is something that you can do. You just apply here, and there you go. And I'll put this in the chat for you so you can have this link. But yeah, in every state, you're basically just going to do the same thing. You'll do California, work permit for a minor, and then fill out like in Maryland, we have the online form. In other states, they have like a PDF that you fill out. Some states require like a school official to sign it. So if you were homeschooling, sometimes they'll have like the homeschooling office do it, or you as the parent, since the parent is the school, you can do it. If you're enrolled at PAX Academy, you can submit it to us, and we as the school officials will sign it off for you. But yeah, it's basically a process. Did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. So I do have another one. So do you have any suggestions? I know like I did like a chat GBT type thing to ask her what she was like into, her interests and stuff, but like you have any other resources like where she can like find herself or try to start finding herself?
Oh, that's a good question. I think, well, so discovering what your passion is, I think it's something that happens in a couple different ways, right? So there's a part of it as a parent, like observing kind of what her natural inclination is really important. So when she has kind of like free time to herself, observe what is she naturally gravitating towards, when you're not telling her like, oh, do this or whatever, when she's just got free time, what does she go towards? And like you mentioned, this is something that is very, very difficult for someone who's been in the schooling system for a long time, because as you mentioned, they're used to having someone else tell them what to do and how to do it. Literally their entire life has been that. So now being in this space of like, okay, there's no one telling me what to do anymore. There's no one telling me that I have to do X, Y, Z. It can be really challenging for them to kind of get used to this this new life that they have, right? But it is such an important process. And actually we refer to this process as the deschooling process, where they're getting out of that kind of like decompressing, almost deconstructing that mentality that they've had before of like, I need someone else to tell me what to do and how to do it. And they're getting used to this new thing. And different teenagers respond to that in different ways. There are some teens that once they have this freedom, they're like, oh, this is awesome. I know exactly what I have all this free time now. I can do this and this and this and this and this, right? But then I think for most teenagers, they kind of go through a phase kind of like what you're mentioning here, where they're like, they're a little lost. They're like, okay, I don't know what my passion is. I don't know what my talents are. I don't know what I'm good at. I don't know how I want to fill my time. And so giving them that freedom and kind of holding space for them to be a little bit bored is a really important thing. And then just kind of observing what they're naturally gravitating towards. Another really key piece of this process as the parent is exposing them to as many different things as we can. Obviously, we can't expose them to all the knowledge that there is in the world. I wish that we could, but we can't. But trying to kind of look at their interests and see what are things that I could do to kind of provide them with more, like with new opportunities, with rich opportunities, with practical opportunities. And then as they go, they're going to kind of discover what it is for themselves. I think about my own journey. I mean, if someone would have told me, 20 years ago when I was in high school that I was going to be able to earn a living by making TikTok videos, I would have been like, what the, like, there's no way that I could have prepared myself as a teenager to do what I'm doing now, you know? And I think for a lot of you as adults too, I'm sure, like, I would love to, actually drop a comment in the chat and let me know, like, what did you want to do when you were a kid? And then is that the same or different than what you're doing now as an adult? I would love to know. But I think it's just kind of a part of life unfolding, is that like we expose ourselves to new things and opportunities fall in our lap and we get connected with other people, we network, we learn new things, and then, eventually we just kind of find our way into our purpose, you know, by pursuing the things that we really love and enjoy. And so yeah, so giving her lots of free time to be able to kind of figure out what that is for herself. Asking her like if there's certain things that she wants to do, looking for resources, a lot of life stuff. The more you can give her like hands-on life opportunity things, I think is really helpful. Um, but yeah, that would be probably what I would do. Just observe her when she has free time, kind of see what she's naturally gravitating towards, and then see what you can do to kind of expose her to new things and see if there's something else that kind of sparks or clicks for her in the new stuff. Is that helpful? Oh, I don't know if you're there. Okay. All right, so I see we've got some questions in the chat here. I want to make sure that I cover these. So I saw Cheyenne asked one of the first question about testing. She said, how does that parlay into the requirements of the state that you might be in? I know we have to inform them and then there's possible evaluations, but what's the following process after declaring unschooling? So technically we never declare that we're unschooling. Unschooling is a type of homeschooling, and every state has different rules and requirements. In most states, you can avoid the testing and reporting requirements by enrolling in a private school like PAX Academy. So for example, if you were to live in Tennessee, Tennessee has testing requirements, but if you're enrolled in PAX Academy, you don't have to do the testing. Same with Florida. If you live in Florida and you are enrolled in PAX Academy, you don't have to do the testing. Now, the caveat for that is if you take the money. So, for example, if you live in Florida and you take the Step Up program money, or if you live in Arizona and you use the ESA funds, or if you live in Texas and you plan to take advantage of the education freedom accounts that they are just recently opened up and have available, if you take government funds, it comes with that string that you take the government money, now you have to do the government exams. So they require you to do standardized testing if you take the money. And actually that's a main reason why a lot of unschoolers refuse to take the money. They're like, I would rather not take your $10,000 and have my freedom than for me to take that $10,000 and open myself up to a potential can of worms that I just don't want to deal with. So yeah, I think it's something every parent has to choose. There are some states that by enrolling in PAX Academy, you still have to do the testing requirements. I'm looking at states like New York. New York is just notoriously difficult and strict about things. If your child is not going to a physical school in person every day, you still have to comply with all of their homeschooling requirements, including evaluations. But the benefit is that number one, I can help you with that. So in lieu of testing, they will let you present like a letter from a certified teacher, which I am a certified teacher. So I do those evaluations where I provide the letter for people saying that I've evaluated the student and that the child is learning and progressing in different subject areas, and I write up a whole report for you. Of course, I understand the unschooling philosophy, so I understand where you're coming from, and I'd be happy to help you with that part of it. The other thing is, of course, some unschoolers, like they have to do the testing in their state, and so they do. Like they'll do the California Achievement Test, and yeah, and with the same thing, again, it's one of the nice things of the California Achievement Test is you can do a little bit at a time. You can do it over an extended period of time. As a good rule of thumb, like if a child has access to a resource in their daily life, I let them use it. So for example, even with the SAT now, you can use a calculator on every single section of the SAT. So if they're going to do a certain test, I let my kids use a calculator. That's a tool that they will have accessible to them in their normal daily life, so they can use that on the test. So different unschoolers kind of handle that in different ways, but yes, it just depending on the state that you're in, the testing requirements might be different. I see Lauren says, my daughter is 17 and has been accidentally unschooled. She works a full-time job that she loves, and she's studying for her CNA. She still doesn't fully know fractions. Oh, that's awesome, Lauren. Yeah. So, even her being successful, finding a job that she enjoys and still doesn't know all like the details about math, it is okay. They learn the math that they need to know for the specific careers that they're in. And I see that a lot too. Like there's certain math that is like very useful in the medical field, And they do, like, they learn the math that they actually need to know to be successful in whatever career path that they have. In fact, we have a student in PAX Academy. He's like, I know for a fact I do not want to go to college. He wants to be a realtor. And so instead of doing like Algebra 2, he found an online class called Realtor Math. And he's literally learning, like, his math credit for this year is that class. Like, he's doing an entire class about realtor math, which is preparing him to take the realtor exam, where there is a math section on the realtor exam. So he's learning the math that he needs that's going to help him actually in whatever career that he's choosing for his future. And that's how it works. We learn what we need when we need it. Cheyenne said, what is the core difference between homeschooling and unschooling? So I define, legally speaking, unschooling is a type of homeschooling. I define homeschool as doing school at home, whereas I define unschooling as my definition has been shifting over the years. I used to define unschooling as living and learning as though school does not exist. But as our conversation today, I'm sure you can see that even as unschoolers, sometimes an unschooler can and does choose something that looks schoolish, whether it be taking an online class or taking a dual enrollment class, or studying with a particular curriculum, like maybe they're doing Khan Academy to learn algebra or whatever. So sometimes unschoolers do things that look or feel schoolish. But for me, the core difference between the two is who is in control. Right. So with a schooling approach to education, there's some outside source, there's some outside authority that is forcing and directing and controlling what you're learning, when you're learning, where you're learning, how you're learning, and why you're learning. Whereas with an unschooling philosophy, the learner is the one who is choosing and controlling what they learn, when they learn, how they learn, why they learn, and where they're learning. So that would be, I think, the core difference between the two is who is really having the control here. Is it a curriculum? Is it a teacher? Is it the parent who's trying to kind of force and coerce you to sit down and we're going to do math now kind of a thing? Or is it the learner who's having the choice to really be empowered to choose what kind of an education do I want and need? What is the kind of life that I want and need? What are the kind of skills that I want and need to be successful in whatever that looks like to me as an individual? So for me, that's the primary difference between the two. I see Antonetta has her hand raised. Go for it, Antonetta.
Hi, hello. Yeah, I have been homeschooling my daughter for this is our second year, and I'm actually still learning this life.
Great.
But I always flirted with the idea of unschooling. We did we do some extra curriculum, you would call it a sport class, and she is not much into arts and all those kind of things, but we follow a curriculum up to date that we really enjoy. But is this idea of not finding what she really likes? It's very general and it's very into everything around the world, you know.
Yeah.
But she is not focused into really knowing herself, you know, and not there yet. And I find interesting the idea of getting to know yourself, you know, getting to know what you really like and what you really enjoy, what moves you, you know, about the schooling idea. And I know it could take time. My question comes regarding unschooling, that we have today a structured, like, not a school, but like, you know, a schedule, and this goes first and this goes later, you know. How do you do this organizing with, you know, kids if you are unschooling and you don't have like such and such happening?
Yeah. Do you mean like how do we structure our day?
Yes, and life.
Yeah.
Because interests change. You know what I mean?
Yes, they do. So we do this in a couple different ways. One of the things that we do at the beginning of the year, so I say that as unschoolers, we do two different types of planning. We do what I like to call forward planning and backward planning. Forward planning is at the beginning of the school year. I sit down with my kids and we talk about the kinds of things that they like, the kinds of things that they're interested in, the kinds of places that they want to visit or explore, field trips that they would like to do, activities that they would like to participate in. Actually, let me see if I can find, hold on. let me see if I can find this real quick. Sorry. I published a book, and I don't know if I have a copy of it here, so I can show you. Hold on. So I'm going to see if I can find it. Okay, I found it. Let me see if I can find the worksheet for you. Sorry, give me 1 second as I'm scrolling through so I can try to show this to you. Okay. So I have a free ebook. Actually, I'll drop it in the chat for you guys in case you would like to have it. This will be my gift to you. Thank you for being here. But let me share my screen so you can see this. All right. So this is what we have here is like the brainstorming stage, right? And so this is a worksheet that I encourage you to fill out for yourself as a parent, and then also something that you can kind of do with your children as well. So I'm excited about peaceful world schooling or unschooling or homeschooling, whatever you want to say there, because, and then again, listing like what are the reasons, what are we looking forward to? What are we excited about? I'm concerned about world schooling, homeschooling, unschooling because, and this is a great opportunity for your kids to share because just like you have fears and concerns and worries, a lot of times our kids also have fears and concerns and worries. So it's helpful for them to kind of get their thoughts out and write about what is it that they actually are concerned about. And then here, a topic that I'm interested in pursuing is, and then they can make a list of some topics that they find to be interesting. A place I want to go is, a skill that I want to master is, and an activity that I want to participate in is, and blah, blah. And so at the beginning of the year, excuse me, I meet with my kids and I actually go through this with them. And we make a list. So they make lists kind of for themselves as individuals. And then we kind of come together and we share like our lists together. And based on this, we do what we call forward planning. So I take a look at it and say, okay, these are all the things that they know today, right now, that are interesting to them, that they want to explore this topic. They want to go visit this place. They want to learn this skill. They want to do this activity. And then we talk about how they want to do those things, right? So I might say, oh, my daughter is really interested in learning about birds. Like she's obsessed with birds, loves stuff about birds. So I'm going to go on the website and I'm going to look for like bird rescue centers near me. And I'm going to Google a bird rescue center and we're going to find a bird rescue center for her because that's something that she really loves. Or I'm going to go online and I'm going to ask ChatGPT to give me what are some awesome apps that my daughter can use to learn more about birds. For example, Merlin. I don't know if you guys know the Merlin app or if you have a nature lover. Merlin is an app that you can download. It's free. And it can, like, if you play it, you can listen to the different bird sounds that are around there, and it will actually identify the birds based on their call. So when we go on a walk, like around our neighborhood, she likes to play the Merlin app, and she's actually getting to the point now where she doesn't even need the app anymore. She can hear the birds calling as we're walking around our neighborhood, and she can identify, oh, this is this type of a woodpecker, and this is this type of a mourning dove, and I don't even know how she does it. I can't do it myself, but that's her passion. Like she loves birds, and so that's what she does. So I think having this as like, again, forward planning, looking at what do I know today about my child? What are the ways that I can help them expand on those knowledge or that interest or that desire that she has? And then the other piece of it is the backward planning. So backward planning is when we're kind of at the end of the school year, we're looking back at the things that we've done or the things that we've accomplished. These are the more like kind of spontaneous learning stuff that happens throughout the year that I could not have planned for. A good example of this with my own family is we went on a cruise, and while we were on this cruise, my kids heard from the lifeguard that there were sharks on the other side of this island. And of course, they were like, Mom, can we go swim with the sharks? And I was like, no. But the lifeguard was explaining to them that this type of shark that was swimming on the other side of the island doesn't really eat humans. They're not known for attacking humans. And so they were like, awesome, let's go swim with that shark. And so they learned it was I can't remember. I think it was like a lemon shark. I don't remember. But it was some type of shark that doesn't typically attack humans. And so they went over there, and that one interaction on our cruise in the Bahamas inspired my son to just have this new obsession with sharks. He came home from that cruise, and I think we have watched every single documentary on Netflix, on Nat Geo, on Disney Plus, on all the things we've watched every single documentary, I think, about sharks, and he just wanted to do this deep dive about sharks. That was not on our plan at the beginning of the year. That was not an interest that my son had when we first started this school year. That was like a spontaneous interest that arose through something that happened in our real life learning experience, right? But now, if you know, at the end of the school year, I can look back on that and be like, okay, wow, like my son was able to learn science because he learned all these random facts about sharks. I didn't know this. Did you all know that a shark is a fish? Did anyone else know this? Was I the only one that did not know this? Please tell me I'm not the only one. But I learned that. I learned that a shark is a fish. Okay. I had no idea that that was a thing. I learned that from my 7-year-old. Okay. So we all learn all these things, again, in conjunction with our children, but looking back on that, right? And then in addition to that, he also was able to practice math because we talked about how big the different sharks are. And then that led us into learning about different types of measurement and the difference between feet and meters and inches and all this stuff. And then how do they weigh them? And, you know, like it just, that one interest kind of carried into science and math and reading and all, you know, social studies, like what sharks live in what part of the world and which ocean is this and what body of water is this and what's the difference between the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic Ocean. I mean, it just, the one interest inspires all these other things, right? So just kind of being open to that flow of learning that happens both through the forward planning and through the backward planning is really helpful. Okay, let me see. Sorry, someone asked.
Thank you.
Yes. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, thank you.
All right. I'm trying to look back through the comments in here as well. Crystal said, I wish I would have known about unschooling years ago when my daughter started struggling. We're new to unschooling. I saw a video about a month ago and I knew it was perfect for her. And it makes me emotional too. Yes. Yes, I feel the same. I cry. I cry in a lot of these meetings when I talk about it, when I think about unschooling and just like what a profound difference this philosophy. Oh, I'm going to cry if I talk about it. I am forever grateful to the mom who shared with me about unschooling for the first time. I cannot imagine what my life would be like, what my relationship with my children would be like if we did not live and learn and parent in this way. It's made all the difference in the world. And I'm so, so thankful for her. And that's part of why I have these conversations, because if a random mom on Facebook had not shared with me about unschooling, we would not be here today. So I'm eternally grateful for her, and I'm grateful that we get to have conversations about this topic that has so transformed our lives. I see Lauren commented, said my daughter's in 1st grade and she loves taking the outschool classes. I did ask her if she wanted to take them, so it was her choice. She looks forward to language arts, reading, writing, and math. Yeah, that's awesome. And again, that's the difference, right? Like your daughter is the one who's choosing it. My daughter's taking a class on Outschool this year. She's doing a realism art class because art is her passion. And that's the difference, right? They're learning it because they're the one that's choosing it, not because I'm forcing her. Cece said that part about giving up and failure and being a quitter, because that's what we have been taught. That is so true. Yes, I think that's like the underlying, you know, bits of school that we still have left over. Jones says, is the review for PAX Academy done the same way as the umbrella? So in PAX Academy, because PAX Academy is a private school, your student is considered enrolled in a private school. And so we actually don't have an annual review in PAX Academy. The one requirement that we have in PAX Academy is that if you want us to issue you transcripts and diplomas, then you have to report the courses and the grades that your child learned over the course of that year. So no reviews for PAX Academy, but we do have a form that you fill out if you would like for us to create the documentation for you. We do not require you to submit grades. I know a lot of unschoolers don't believe in grades. I have never graded my children. In fact, this will be the very first year that I grade my children. And the reason for that is my daughter is in 6th grade and she knows Spanish, and Spanish is a high school level class. And so she knows enough to have finished Spanish 1. And so I will be giving her a grade so that she can start earning those high school credits now as a 6th grader. Let me see. Lauren said, what activities do you guys do and often? We do all kinds of different activities. So the nice thing about Peaceful Worldschoolers is that we have field trips that are happening every single day of the week and all over the place. And so there's always something fun to do. But we also do like a lot of downtime. I think a really big part of unschooling is giving each of us the freedom to have free time where we can take advantage of that time, investing our time in the things that are valuable and meaningful for us. Right now, my daughter's really interested in things like animations. She loves to like create videos and stories. She's very interested in musical theater. So she spends a lot of her day working on things like that, working on these stories that she's making. She has a YouTube channel, videos that she's creating. She does a lot of that. My son, he is 7. He really enjoys reading Dogman books right now. That's his kind of new thing. So he likes to do that. Right now, they're actually both downstairs working on building a Lego set. And yeah, so they're working on that right now. My son also has a very like scientific brain. He enjoys doing science experiments. We bought like one of those kits where they like mail you science experiments every month. We got those, and he really loves doing those, like where they're engineering and they're having to build stuff and create stuff and explode stuff. That's all the stuff that my son is really interested in. So he does a lot of that.
Oh, thank you
Yeah.
for that. I guess I was getting a little bit confused because I was wondering if there's like a group activity or something going on versus it sounds like what you were telling me is your family's program. Do you guys have as a I forgot what it's called, but the not the co-op, but the
The
Peaceful
umbrella?
World Schoolers. Yeah, the
Yeah.
umbrella.
Yeah, so if you go to our website, peacefulworldschoolers.com, I'll take you there real quick. You can come down here. It'll give you the option to choose either one of these. So you can either start or join a local group, or you can explore the world with us. So we also do international trips. So you'll want to do this one, the start or join a local Peaceful World Schoolers group. And then when you click on this button, sorry, my Wi-Fi is a little bit slow right now. It will bring you here to this map. So these, the ones that are highlighted right now, these are the states where we have a coordinator who's planning field trips for you guys in all of these states. If you do not see your state represented here, I highly encourage you to apply to become one of the coordinators for Peaceful World Schoolers. This is an awesome opportunity for moms that want to make a positive difference in the homeschooling community and be leaders within the community. In fact, we've got 2 of our coordinators that are on the call. I don't know if they're still here, but Lauren is our coordinator in Anne Arundel, and then Cece is our coordinator in Baltimore. And yeah, they plan amazing field trips. So for example, if you live in Maryland where I do, you can click here on the Maryland tab. And yeah, originally we started out with these different regions and we were kind of planning by region, but we've been so blessed. We've got a lot of different coordinators here. So for example, Lauren was on the call today. Like I mentioned, she's our coordinator for Anne Arundel County. If you click on this little button here, this is our Google Calendar. And then this will bring you to the Google Calendar for Anne Arundel County. And as you can see, she's got all kinds of fun stuff that's happening in Anne Arundel County. And then you can just click on any of these activities. They got Valentine's Day bingo. For this one, they did a National Cryptologic Museum here. This one was for the teens. Today, they actually went bowling at the bowling alley. So there's tons of different activities in here that you can join. And then if you click down here at the bottom where it says add to Google Calendar, you can actually add our Google Calendar to your calendar on your phone, which is so helpful because then whenever I open up my calendar on my phone, I can automatically see all the cool stuff that's happening, all the field trips that are happening every single day. And you can do this for all of the different regions. So I will share this link with you if you are in Maryland, or you can go back and do the look in the other states as well.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Yeah, I see Esther said that she's in the Keys in Florida as their coordinator here. So we actually don't have a coordinator in the Keys yet in Florida, but like I said, we're always looking for new moms that are interested, or dads. We actually had a dad reach out to me the other day and was like, "Can I be a coordinator?" He's in like the Miami area, so I don't know how far that is from you, but yeah, we're actually right now looking for people to apply to be coordinators for next school year. So we're going to start our training for the community coordinators in June. It will be on okay, so that'll be a little too far for you. But yes, if you are interested in becoming a coordinator, you can come to this area here and you can just click where it says become a community coordinator. And then I encourage you to watch this video. This video just gives like you an overview of kind of what does it mean to be a coordinator? What are the responsibilities? One of the benefits of being a coordinator, in addition to planning the stuff that your kids are interested in. We also give a free full scholarship in PAX Academy for the people that are selected to be community coordinators. So if you are interested in being a part of PAX Academy and finances are a concern for you, volunteering as the community coordinator is a great way to be able to take advantage of that. It's also a great opportunity as well. Like I mentioned, you're the one who's choosing the field trips that you're going on in your county. And I tell all of our community coordinators, the goal is like, I want you to plan the field trips for your kids. Like you are planning for your child, for your family based on your child's interests, and then you're inviting other people to participate in the fun. But you know, we obviously we can't plan for everyone who's out there in the world. Everybody has different things. My goal for you is that that you can create opportunities for your children to engage in the things that they are passionate about, and that you can help cultivate a community of people in your local area. And so this is an awesome opportunity to be able to do that. And I will share the link in the chat there. All right. I see Aaliyah is commenting as well. Hey, Aaliyah. She said, I'm a sophomore in high school with 12 credits. I'm taking Spanish. I want to graduate early by taking the Spanish exams. I was wondering which ones you would recommend for me to complete my missing credits. I want to go to college to become a pediatrician, and I want to start early. Aaliyah, thank you so much for asking this question. I'm actually going to share something with you here. If you are not familiar, there's a website called Modern States. I want to say it's .org. Yes. Okay. So if you do not know this website, and you plan to go to college, you need to know this website, okay? Modernstates.org is a free website, and they offer a bunch of different free courses that are based on all these different kinds of CLEP exams. Each of these is connected to a different CLEP exam. So there's a college algebra CLEP exam, there's a biology CLEP exam. You mentioned that you're taking Spanish. If you scroll down here, they have the Spanish CLEP exam. Basically, you take their free class, and at the end of taking this free class, they will give you a voucher. And that voucher you can use to be able to take the CLEP exam totally free. Totally free. All right. I'm going to drop this in the chat for you as well. So Modern States, this is a way for you to earn free college credits. Again, it's a free class. At the end of the free class, I think you have to get, I want to say you have to get like a 75 or an 80% in the class, something like that. You have to pass their class, which is a good sign, because if you can pass their class, there's a good chance you will pass the CLEP exam. So Spanish is one of my favorite CLEP exams. If you know any Spanish at all, please take the Spanish CLEP exam. I took the Spanish CLEP exam when I was in high school. After I had studied formally for like 4 years in high school. You're supposed to do like the AP Spanish was 5 years. I took the test after 4 years and I passed. I got 12 college credits from one Spanish exam. 12 college credits. That's an entire semester of college that I finished in one 90-minute test. Okay. So yes, this one, please take this one. Some of the other ones that are easy. So social sciences is a pretty easy one, I think, for the CLEP exam. This one. This one is very easy. Introductory sociology. This one is one of the easiest. You could probably take this test tomorrow without even studying and pass it. This one is super easy. The psychology one is also one of the more relatively easy ones. The humanities one is also another very easy CLEP exam. I recommend doing like the US history one, because that's a class that you can kind of double dip for that. So taking the US history class, like the CLEP exam through PAX Academy, if you take the CLEP exam and you pass, we will give you credit for the test. So you don't have to do a whole year of US history. You can just study, take the CLEP exam, pass it, and then we will issue you credit for that class. Trying to think what are some other ones. If you want to get like out of your math, like if math is not your thing, the college mathematics one is the easiest one. The other easy math one is the college algebra one. So if I had to go to college and I did not want to do an entire semester of math at college, I would either do the college math or the college algebra. Biology is another one that I would try to CLEP out of, because that's another one you can double dip. You need biology for high school. You may as well get the college credit for it as well. Same with chemistry, but the chemistry one is difficult. This one you probably have to study a minute for that one. But yeah, so those are the ones that I would probably do. All right, see Don. Hey Don, how are you? Don said, I've been unschooling for 3 years. I've never created a report card. How do I do this? Is there any help offered? So Dawn, technically speaking, your kids do not need report cards. Really, the grades and the more documentation, like that kind of a thing, that becomes more important once they get to high school and they need the high school transcript. So that is why I recommend once they get to high school, that you switch over to PAX Academy, because then we are able to issue them the accredited transcript, accredited diploma, and we handle creating all of those documents for you. You don't have to worry about it. We will issue the transcripts and the report cards and all that stuff. You just submit the courses and the grades, and we do everything else. But if you want to do it on your own, you can, there's like templates. You can Google like a template. I think HSLDA has like some templates as well that you can get them from them as well. But yeah. Sorry, let me scroll back up here. So I was missing some of the questions. Hold on one second. Tina said, if we are in PAX Academy, are we still considered homeschoolers? So PAX Academy, we're kind of in this gray area. Technically, your children are enrolled in a private school. Depending on the state that you're in, some of them do consider PAX Academy students as homeschoolers, but in some states they don't. In some states, they consider you a private school student. In some states, they consider you a homeschooler. So it kind of depends on where you live, is the short answer to that. One second.
Is that Maryland? What about Maryland?
So Maryland, you were considered a private school student here. Yeah, so you don't have, like, if you're enrolled in PAX Academy, you don't have to submit a notice of intent to homeschool. You don't have to wait 2 weeks to get started. You can get started right away with PAX. Whereas if you go the homeschool route, you have to fill out the notice of intent to homeschool. That the Peaceful Worldschoolers is our homeschool umbrella. So Peaceful Worldschoolers families have to fill out the notice of intent. They're supposed to wait the 15 days. And they have to do the annual review. Whereas PAX Academy, because we're registered here as a private school, you're considered a private school student.
Okay, I'll have to reach out about a specific issue later. So
okay,
thank you.
All right, sounds good.
Now that you're, is Antonieta here again?
Yes.
Now that you're talking about PAX Academy, and I am from another umbrella, but I guys, you are amazing. I just, yes, I got so much information from you, and I just told my daughter, yeah, I'm gonna change it definitely. It's so much more information and help. This is the question about PAX Academy.
Yes.
How does it work? Is it a curriculum that they have to still follow, or it just go with the unschooling hand in hand? How does that work?
No, so PAX Academy, we are a private school for unschoolers. So you are free to educate your child in whatever way that you believe is best. The primary difference is that because they're enrolled in a private school, then we are the ones that are issuing the transcripts and the diplomas and the report cards and all of that. Now, in some states, by enrolling in a private school, you can avoid like the homeschooling requirements, like testing, evaluations, notification, and things like that. In some states, that doesn't apply, but regardless, you still have the benefit of having access to like us doing the transcripts and the diplomas and all of that for you. Having an accredited transcript and diploma becomes very, very, very important, especially once they get to high school. The reason for that is a lot of schools will not accept homeschooling credits if they transfer when they're in high school. So for example, we had a girl who was in our umbrella. I told the mom, please transfer her to PAX Academy once she gets to high school. And she was like, oh no, I've been homeschooling for like 15 years. We're just gonna like keep her here in Peaceful Worldschoolers and just do our thing. You know, I was like, okay, cool. Like she already knew how to make transcripts. She knew how to do the diplomas. Like she'd already graduated other students. She was fine. Then this girl, when she was in 11th grade, decided that she was going to go back to public school because she wanted to have a prom and graduate and, I don't know, do all that stuff. And so she was trying to go back into public school for 11th grade. They would not accept any of the credits that she had earned as a homeschooler. None of them. None of them. And this girl was not a girl, like she was not an unschooler. Okay, this was a girl that she used an accredited curriculum. She had proof of her accredited curriculum that she used. She also had taken community college classes through Howard Community College. They would not even accept the community college classes. Like they accepted nothing. And so they put this girl who was taking college classes as a freshman and sophomore in high school, and they put her back in like she was a ninth grader again. And the whole reason for that was because her transcript, they considered it as an unaccredited transcript because it was a homeschool transcript. Whereas if you were able to present a transcript from an accredited school, they accept them.
Is that the rule here in Maryland to go that route, like with homeschooler high schoolers?
That's one of the reasons why I started PAX Academy. Actually, I reached out to another umbrella lady who's been running an umbrella for like 20 years. And I was like, hey, this happened to one of the kids who was in our umbrella. And she was like, oh yeah, that's the way Maryland is. Maryland will not accept homeschooler credit. She's like, I tell all of our families that if you homeschool in high school and they try to go back into public school, they will not accept their homeschool credits. Like at any school in Maryland, they don't accept them. They make them like test out of them. And that's the case too, like in Arizona, it's written in Arizona law that if you homeschool in Arizona and you try to go back to public high school, they will not accept any homeschool credits in Arizona. And so yeah, so it's a whole thing. Now if you're going to stay homeschooling through the whole thing, then it's not a problem, right? Like you could stay homeschooling through the whole thing and graduate and go to college. It's so funny. Colleges don't care. But the high schools care. They care. And even when they're trying to get into college too, like there are some colleges that if you present a homeschool transcript or a homeschool diploma, they make you jump through all these extra hoops because they're like, oh, that's not an accredited diploma. It's not an accredited transcript. Or they want you to prove all the things that you did. Where they're like, hey, your mom said you got an A in calculus. How'd you do that? Kind of a thing. So yeah, it just I've just been seeing over the years how there's a lot of homeschoolers that whenever they try to make these transitions, either back into the public school system or transitioning to college, sometimes it's fine, but then sometimes it's not fine. And so that was one of the reasons why I created PAX Academy. I wanted to be able to help as many families as I could avoid a lot of those issues as much as possible. So yeah, so that's why I try to recommend, if you have students that are in middle school and high school, switch to PAX Academy. No one really cares in elementary school. Typically in K through 8, they just kind of stick them back in school based on whatever their birth date is, kind of a thing. But once they get to high school in particular, schools just get really weird. They get really weird about it. And just
Thank you.
it just becomes a lot more difficult. So yeah. Okay, Aurora, I saw your comment here said my son decided not to go to school anymore. He's a junior and an honor student. I'm afraid that he can lose the school year if he quits school before the school year ends. So Aurora, this is a great reason. Again, homeschooling is not quitting school, right? He will finish the school year as a homeschooler. He's not going to lose the credit. He's not going to lose any of that. Like I said, if you choose to go through Peaceful Worldschoolers, you as the parent are responsible to create the transcripts and all of that stuff. But if you enroll him into PAX Academy, then we will take care of issuing the transcripts and the diploma. So he would just finish his junior year with PAX Academy instead of finishing it with the current school that he's at. So you are more than welcome to withdraw your child from school at any point. But if your son is just deciding he doesn't want to go to school anymore, it's really, really, really important that you can notify the school that you're going to start homeschooling him and that you do that as soon as possible. Because if you don't, then you can run into issues of like truancy and things like that. And you definitely want to avoid that because once you get into truancy where he's registered in the school, but he's not showing up, then you can have some issues. Aurora, can you let me know what state you live in?
Oh,
Aurora? Sorry if you're able to speak. Let's see here. Illinois. Okay. Oh, good. So homeschooling in Illinois is very, very, very easy. Very, very easy. So when you homeschool in Illinois, basically you just tell the school that you're going to withdraw him into homeschool, and that is it. Easy peasy. You don't have to fill out any special form. They don't have any kind of special testing or anything. Just tell them, hey, I'm going to homeschool my child. I'm going to withdraw him in homeschool, and that's all you have to do. It's very easy. All right. Donna, okay, Donna, so you said hold on one second, sorry. Aaliyah said, I have 12 credits. How many credits would I need from the CLEP exams to graduate early? So in order to graduate from high school, we at PAX Academy, we follow Maryland requirements. So you need a minimum of 22 credits in order to graduate early. So you can CLEP out of those if you like. We also have dual enrollment partnerships where if you were to take college classes through our dual enrollment partnerships, a couple of them will allow you to finish the entire college credit, like the entire course, in 6 weeks. So you could literally finish an entire class in 6 weeks. So that's another great way to get credits really quickly is through our dual enrollment partnerships. Dawn said, I need the report cards for legal reasons. Okay, so if you need them from legal reasons, you as the parent, if you are homeschooling under Peaceful Worldschoolers, then you as the parent can create the report card on your own. Again, there you can download templates from online or just Google like homeschool report card or whatever and do it that way. If you're enrolled in PAX Academy, then you would just fill out our grade reporting form and then we will give you the report card. Sandra said,
how much is PAX Academy for two?
yeah, so PAX Academy is right now we have a discount going on, so it will be $350 for the school year for one student, and we have a family discount of $600 for a family of up to 3 students. And then the first time that you enroll with us, there is a one-time registration fee of $50 per student. Now, starting next school year, our prices are actually going to increase a little bit. One of the things that I have observed is that families, when they enroll in PAX Academy, so we have an optional like consultation for families where you can meet with one of our guidance counselors and get one-on-one support with someone. And what I found is that I think a lot of people would really benefit from being able to have that kind of one-on-one guidance, especially when they're first starting. So starting next year, that consultation is actually going to be built into the registration fee. So you'll have a full hour-long one-on-one meeting with one of our guidance counselors to be able to help you and support you as you make the transition. So next year, the registration fee is going to go up to $150, but again, that's just a one-time fee. So once you pay the registration fee, you won't ever have to pay it again. It's just the first year that you enroll with us, and then that's it.
Okay, can you enter at any time? Like I'm in Peaceful World now, and I wanted to switch into PAX like now. Like, is that possible?
Yeah. Of course, yep. We have year-round open enrollment in both of the organizations, so you can switch over at any point in time. I'll drop the link for our PAX Academy website where you can fill out the enrollment form there.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. All right, and then I say, John, you said, how much is PAX for 2 children? Yes, I just answered that. So for 2 children, it would be $600 for both of them, plus the $50 registration fee. So this year it will be just that. Is the same price for registration even if the school year is almost done? Yes. Yeah, so in order to keep our prices so low and affordable for everyone, we charge a fixed fee per school year regardless of when you start. The reason for that is that you're going to get the same number of credits whether you're starting in August or April. It's still the same. And so yeah, so we just charge a fixed fee. Next year, our prices are changing, like I mentioned. So next year, it's going back to the regular rate. So it'd be $400 for one student for next year, and then the sibling fee, we're shifting our prices to try to help accommodate our larger families. So instead of doing the package, it's $150 for each additional sibling. So I put that each sibling, and then there's a one-time registration fee of $150 per student. Yeah, so those are going to be the prices for next school year. But if you enroll them right now for this current school year, then you'll be able to enroll with the discount. So right now it's $350 for one student. And then right now we have the family package where it's $600 for a family of up to 3. And then the registration fee right now is only $50 per student. But that does not include the 1-hour consultation. So you can book the 1-hour consultation separately. All right. Any other questions? Oh, Mandy, thank you. I just read your comment. Thank you for that. I appreciate you being here tonight, and I hope that it was beneficial for you and that we all got to learn something new.
Angela, I don't know if you missed it, but I didn't see an answer to Ellen's question. She mentioned she works full time and just looking for any tips or suggestions for parents who work full time.
Oh, that's a good question. Let me scroll back up so I
It
can
was
see it.
Ellen Massey, I think.
Yep, I see it. Okay, so Ellen said, it feels like this type of learning won't work unless there's a parent who is able to spend a significant amount of time supporting the student. I work full time and my husband isn't going to take this on. My son is 11. I feel like this is the right option for him, but I don't know how to make it work. Okay, thank you for commenting that, Ellen, and thank you for bringing that up to me as well. I appreciate you catching that I had missed that. Yes, so parenting in general is work, right? Parenting in general requires a lot of work. I think unschooling as well, like a lot of people have this idea that unschooling is unparenting. We're just kind of like washing our hands and like, okay, go do your thing. It is really not that. And I think this is something that I struggle with as a parent because I'm a single mom. So being a single mom as someone who does have to work and provide for my children, and I also want to educate my children, this is something that I struggle with. I struggle with this, like, okay, the reality that I do have to work and I also want to be as present of a parent as I possibly can with my children. That being said, I think a lot of it does depend on like your child and their ages and what they need. So like if my children were a lot younger, I think they would need a lot more of like my time and attention and one-on-one support. That being said, like my daughter's 11 years old now, so she's a lot more independent in what she's doing. My son is 7 and he's been going through some things recently that for me, I was like, okay, I can see that my son is needing more one-on-one time from me. Like he's needing me to be more present with him. And so that's something that I'm working on too. But yes, it is something that can be challenging to kind of like find the balance. One of the things that I do, like as a single parent, my best friend lives in the home with us. And so we kind of like tag team with this. So if I'm working, she's the one who's like present with my kids. So she can, be with them so I can do things. Actually, she's with them right now. So she's taking care of my kids right now. So that way I can be here and have this conversation with you guys. My mom is also in the home. So there will be times that I will ask my mom if she can help watch the kids so that I can, get some work done or answer phone calls or have meetings or whatever. And so, yeah, I think being able to do this in community is really, really, really helpful. We had talked about starting a care club this year, and we weren't quite able to get it off the ground, but it's definitely something that I have on my radar that I want to try to kind of like relaunch again for next school year. But with our care club, basically what a care club is like there's moms that would volunteer, like we offer to kind of host a play date, basically host a play date once per month. And so every mom is going to offer to host a play date once per month. And then in exchange for offering to host a play date once per month, then you'll have access to all of these other opportunities to be able to basically have like free childcare within our community of other moms. All of the moms do have to get background checks and things like that. So we have procedures in place to make sure that this is like a safe experience. And of course, all of the parents are welcome to stay as well at any of the care things. So this, you don't have to like feel pressure to like leave your child with someone that you don't know yet. The idea is that we can get to know the other people that are in our community and provide this network of really practical help and support and care, especially for people like myself that are single parents or parents that do have to either work outside of the home or something like that, where we can support one another in caring for our children so that we can juggle all the stuff that we have to do. I know living here in Maryland is freaking expensive. And so it's helpful, I think, for moms to be able to like have a break every once in a while. So that's something that we're planning to do practically just to help with like the actual care piece of being able to have this like dedicated time where, okay, I'm going to be present with this group of kids in our community. And then in exchange, I also know that there's going to be another mom who's going to help be present with my kids so that I can do the work that I also have to get done as well. So that's something that we have kind of on our radar that we're going to try again for next year. But yeah, it's challenging. I don't pretend to have all the answers for you when it comes to figuring out how to do it. But what I will say is that you have the power to create a life that you love, whatever that looks like for you. For me, when I first started this, when I first started unschooling, I wasn't home. I was a public school teacher, so I was out of the home all day. And while I did the best that I could in that season that I had at that time where I was working outside the home and I paid a nanny to take care of my kids so I could work, that wasn't my goal, right? My goal was that like I want to be home with my kids. I want to spend more time with them. I want to be the one who's sharing and doing life with them. And so in order for me to make that happen, I had to make changes about my job. I quit teaching. I quit my job. I started doing other things. I started doing like tutoring and piano lessons and business consulting and like all kinds of random stuff to try to survive in a way that would also help me, be more present with my kids. I took care of other homeschoolers' kids. I started a business where I was helping take care of other homeschoolers where parents had to work and I could take care of their kids. So that gave me the freedom to be more present with my kids as well. So, there's just you've got to figure out whatever that is going to look like for you to work for you. And it might look like starting your own business or getting a different type of job or looking for a remote job or whatever that might look like for you, but you'll figure it out. You will, I promise. And just like I told my daughter, if there's something that you're not happy with about your life or the situation that you're in, you have the freedom to make a change. You are free to make a change. And yeah, so if there's anything else that you'd like take away from this conversation, I hope and pray that it is that you are empowered to create a life that you love with the people that you love the most. No one else is going to do it but you. And so whatever you want that to look like, do it. Be open to doing whatever it takes to create your life the way that is going to work best for you and for your child. You mentioned that your husband might not be fully on board with this. That's a whole nother conversation for another day too. But just know that, like you can do this. You can do this. And if there's something that's not working, you can make a change. You really can. All right. Any other questions? I know we went way past our time. But yeah, I really appreciate all of the really thoughtful questions that you guys asked. I hope that you found that this has been a valuable investment of your evening. I do not take it for granted at all. I understand that time is the most precious gift that each of us have. And I so deeply thank you for choosing to invest a couple hours of your time, of your life with me. If I have not had the chance to meet you in person, I hope that I will one day. So I know we have a lot of Marylanders on the call, and it's such a pleasure always to be able to share this time with you and to just hear your questions and concerns, and hopefully you leave this call tonight feeling empowered and having a little bit more confidence and hope in the journey that's ahead for you and for your children. And I just want to acknowledge each and every one of you of investing time and effort, not only in homeschooling your children, but in being willing to make the changes necessary to give your children the best childhood that they can possibly have. So as you said, I'm so glad I joined the meeting. I was feeling so lost in this path. Oh, well, I'm glad that you joined too. I really appreciate it as well. And Lauren, thank you for being here. I love that you're here. Lauren, is there anything that you would like to share as one of our coordinators and as a mom who's been unschooling as well?
Sure. So I've been planning field trips in Anne Arundel County, Maryland this year. It's been so much fun. I get to do everything that my children want to do, like every Wednesday, and then we've met so many friends. And I encourage you to become a coordinator because it's just been so much fun. And a lot of times we get to go on the trips for free, so that's also another perk.
Yes, that is nice. I do miss that from when I was planning them myself. Yeah, so a lot of people don't know all of the field trips that we do are technically PAX Academy field trips. And it's one of the benefits that we do because when we plan field trips as a private school, a lot of times we can get better discounts than just the regular group discount, which is really nice. And so we're very happy to be able to extend that additional discount to you guys. And so as the coordinator who's planning these trips, a lot of times, again, you're considered a teacher with a private school. And so a lot of places will let whoever's planning the trip be able to go for free. And so it's definitely one of the nice perks that we get as a coordinator is that you're able to attend some of the field trips for free. And we try to help also like cover the cost for the coordinators because it's a lot of work. You guys invest a lot of time and effort and energy into like finding all these really cool opportunities for people to be able to participate in, and we really appreciate all the work that you guys do. So anyways, thank you guys so much for being here. Is there anyone else who wanted to share anything else before we sign off for tonight? No? All right. Well, in that case, thank you guys so much for being here. And I look forward to seeing you all next month in March. And that will be our last Q&A that we do before our annual review. So if you are in our umbrella, just as a reminder, we do our annual review during the first week of April. So if you have not registered for the annual review yet and you are enrolled in the Peaceful Worldschoolers umbrella, please make sure that you register for our annual review. This year we're going to do like 6 different ones because last year we broke Zoom. I didn't know that Zoom had a limit to how many people could be in the Zoom call. And so we had too many people that were trying to get into our annual review last year. So this year we're going to have 6 different annual reviews. And that way you'll be able to get connected with people that are a little bit closer to where you live and hopefully start to be able to make connections with other homeschoolers that are in your local area. So you'll have 6 different options of an annual review that you can participate in. And yeah, and then after that, we've got a lot of really cool stuff that's happening in May as well, but I'll send out an email letting you guys know all the cool stuff that's happening through the rest of the school year. So lots of really fun stuff to look forward to. I hope y'all have a wonderful rest of your evening, and I'll see you in March. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.